In what ways does your media products use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? In this video essay, I will be discussing the ways in which my created media products, which are my film, magazine, and poster, use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products. Following conventions is an extremely important aspect when creating a text, as it makes your product seem more professional. Conventions are the accepted way of doing something. By following conventions, you are more likely to create a successful product that effectively targets its audience and meets its expectations. For my main text, I created a short documentary film. There are many types of documentaries: reflective, observational, poetic, participatory, and expository. I have used conventions of the reflexive documentary and expository documentaries. At the start of my documentary, the dialogue of the filmmakers can be heard. This is a convention of the reflexive documentary.
So yeah, I do believe his story, and I know we might be being naive. He's been through a war, he's been blown up. He, of course, isn't 100% mentally. He can't be 100% mentally stable and sane, because that's not possible after he's been through such traumas and seen such horrors.
Self-conscious or self-reflexive style addresses the process of representation itself and often foregrounds the relationship between the filmmaker and the spectators, as well as between the filmmaker and the subject. As you heard, we are discussing the subject of our documentary and expressing a doubt about his authenticity. We have also used the convention of an interview, more common to expository documentaries. These often make liberal use of interviews.
Do you know, it's 13 years to the day yesterday since I got blown up. To the day that I got blown up in Afghanistan.
Our cutaways emphasise the hard life the subject has endured. It allows us to see his limited belongings as well as his dog and the close relationship he has with it. Cutaways also have the added benefit of tidying up continuity mistakes. To give context to our documentary, we edited shots of the streets of London where the interview took place. This acted in binary opposition to our subject, as we witnessed crowds of shoppers spending money and rushing about their daily lives. We decided not to use non-diegetic sounds in our film, although it is a convention one associates with documentaries. This means our film will not be considered observational, as the convention with those films allow for the audio-visual language of film to be employed. We could have used music, but it felt it would patronise our subject. However, we did employ some elements of the observational documentary. Here we can hear the sound of a bicycle bell ringing. This captured sound was manipulated in the edit suite so that it was time to create a transition between shots. Again, we hope to reinforce the idea of everyday life carrying on whilst our subject sits and begs. Creative treatment of actuality is Grierson's take on the documentary form, and we have certainly been creative in the way we edited the interview, using some soft dissolves to disguise the jump cuts in the interview so we can manipulate and interpret the interview.
They're lost. They're another soul in the sea of carnage.
This was necessary in order to reduce what was an hour-long film just to 5 minutes. Also, at the start of the film, we cut from us doubting Richard's authenticity to him saying strange. Again, this is a reflexive as well as a creative use of actuality.
He's been through a war, he's been blown up. He, of course, isn't 100% mentally. He can't be 100% mentally stable and sane, because that's not possible after he's been through such traumas and seen such horrors.
Strange.
Typically, short documentaries begin with a title and no other credits, and at the end have end credits. I will now talk about my magazine. I have created a conventional magazine review both in terms of layout and design as well as language and register. my magazine is aimed at a niche audience of amateur filmmakers. I created a brand identity for my magazine which is reflected in the detail. For example, here you can see my magazine title as well as the web address. Looking at this example of a real media product, you can see the following conventions: verdict, ratings, credits, still image, title with caption, pull quote. As you can see here, I have followed these conventions in my magazine. This is the rating, the verdict, credits, still image, title with caption, and pull quote. The language and register is key to creating a professional review. Here is an example of that in a real media text. Here, you are able to see I have employed a similar language and register. Another convention I followed when creating my magazine review is using different size fonts and font styles. For example, I also used a drop cap. Lastly, I'm going to talk about my poster. I've also created a conventional poster in terms of layout and design. As well as my magazine, my poster is also aimed at a niche audience of amateur filmmakers. Looking at this example of a real media product, you are able to see the following conventions: credit block, title, large image, strapline, release date. As you can see here in my poster, I have also followed these conventions. Here's the credit block, title, large image, strapline, release date. Another convention I used when creating my poster was that I included a rating of the film. Here is an example of this in a real media text. As you can see, I have also used this technique. Here is my rating. Thank you for listening to my documentary evaluation question 1.